Good morning, everybody. I wanted to put a quick video together. Yesterday we had the first AMA in, I guess, since right around Christmas time. A lot of good information, a lot of good updates, some controversial ones, but overall it was good. I think we went through roughly about 24 questions. Sadly, about 12 of them were the exact same question over and over again reworded. But I wanted to put a video together with my top takeaways from the AMA, explain a little bit around those, and hopefully summarize that a little bit because I think it went roughly about an hour and a half yesterday. Again, a lot of the questions were the same type of thing, so it got kind of repetitive there for a while. I know they're going to correct that in future AMAs, but these are my top takeaways from the AMA. First one we'll start out with is probably the most controversial, and that is the wildflowers. Obviously, these are sunflowers. I'm just using this as an example. But there is talk about them implementing a wildflower solution because there's been so many complaints about people not being able to balance their CBITs correctly, and for there being such a big gap for new players coming in. Um, the proposal or the solution that the development team is looking to do is they are looking to add a thing called wildflowers, which will basically be available. Lycos mentioned that potentially 20 limited. I'm sorry, limited to 2,000. What these would do is they'd provide a small amount, very small amount of. Ooh, that's a bad screen. A very small amount of CBIT to new users to help them get started. Obviously, there's some debate about this, how this would ruin the economy. If you push in there 2,000 NFTs, which could give, I guess, between 2 and 3 CBIT. They didn't identify how much CBIT it would be a day, but you're basically introducing 4 to 6,000 CBIT into the market for free, which would most likely for most people would go right to the market to sell for wax. So that's the controversy there. Um, my personal opinion is I don't think it's the right solution, um, but I know Lycos and the development team are pretty set on it. So it's going to be implemented one way or another. There was just some discussion after the AMA around it, where some really good ideas came up that I think Lycos and team were receptive of. One of the items that came up that they're going to look into is potentially how can this flower feed, instead of providing CBIT and a token, can it provide a partial refill of water and food? For example, when they use it, can it provide 20 worth of food and 20 worth of water directly to your silos and water towers? That way it is used for the right reason. And also that way it is not taken advantage of as far as tokens go. So it's something they're going to look into. I personally believe that would be a much better use and a much better solution. So hopefully it's possible. I also mentioned that they're potentially using a timer or an expiration date to it. For example, from the first time they use it, they have 14 days. Uh, and then after the 14 days, it expires and it's no longer useful. That gives them some time to get into the game, get used to it, but it's not a long-term crutch and it has minimal impact. But I do have to say I like the other idea as far as it going directly into the silos and water tower being without a doubt the best possible solution if they implement something like this. So more to come on that. The only details they really provided is it is coming. They haven't provided how much is going to happen, and they hinted at it's 2000 limited edition. So we'll see what happens with that one. The next item on the list that they discussed was blending. This is actually probably one of the key items, I believe personally, that's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. This is way more important in my eyes than the wildflower. And I think this is the best update they provided uh, in the whole AMA. Essentially, they said that the target is to have blending in game by the end of this week. I'm not sure if it'll happen, maybe early next week. But what blending does is it allows us to blend our commons into rares and our rares into epics. What's the benefit of doing that? Basically, if you have a bunch of commons and you just can't afford going through the process and buying all rares, this allows you to blend. Obviously, there is cost to it. They haven't identified the requirements for that yet, but when they had the poll out there and they were asking for our opinion, they had mentioned, for example, common to rare would be 2 commons plus, I think it was 1,000 cest, um, and that would blend you over to a rare. And I think it was a similar equation, whatever the difference is between buying 2 commons to a rare and 2 rares to an epic. Whatever that difference is what they would cost there. Obviously, the concern is, how does that make sense? Because Atomic Hub is so cheap right now. But the reason that makes sense is because they're basing it off of, and let's actually go over to they're basing it off the actual cost in game cest wise for each of these animals to be purchased. So they want to base it on the in-game currency, not the Atomic Hub, because Atomic Hub fluctuates. So basically, right here, if you have 2 commons and you want a rare, it's basically 2 commons plus 1,000 cest. That was the proposal. I don't know if this is the final number. So from a rare to epic, it could be 2 rare epic animals plus 2,000 cest, which makes sense from an in-game purchasing perspective. And they want to base everything off the in-game market, not the Atomic Hub market, because Atomic Hub fluctuates and it is not something they want to base the price off of. What will happen when this is implemented is we'll be able to burn commons and rares, and it will also burn cest. So it is burning 3 different items, which in turn could and should raise the value of those items. So if you buy, right now, you could go out and buy a whole bunch, and when they get burnt, those commons are no longer going to be there. So the number of commons in the overall market is going to be reduced, and reduced permanently, unless more are purchased from the in-game market. But they would be removed permanently. So once enough commons are removed, we should see the price on Atomic Hub start to match the price in game. That's the ultimate goal. Atomic Hub and in game are equal. We see that with some animals. For example, rare geese. They keep fluctuating back and forth. But then again, other common animals, they're off, but that should help. What this will also help is those of you that are struggling with CBIT. Essentially, with CBIT, the higher rarity, the better or the less CBIT that you need overall. So if you have a bunch of common animals, like I have, right now I have a bunch of common geese. I think I have 20 some common geese. I did start the process of moving those over to rares, but I've held on to my commons. Um, I did the math. Right now, it's roughly 90 CBIT for me a day. What it costs, if I convert all of my common geese to rare geese, obviously that reduces the number of geese I have. But if I do that, it actually reduces my overall CBIT cost to around 50 CBIT a day. So I reduce my cost by 40 CBIT just by doing the blending. So keep that in mind. It is a solution to help out with the CBIT problem that a lot of people are having. All right. And so that was another one of the big items that came out of yesterday. I assumed it was coming soon. I did not know it was coming this week, but blending possibly this week. The last item that came up in the AMA that was very notable is that the new roadmap. They have updated the roadmap a little bit. It's got some people upset, but I think the people that get upset about the new roadmap don't understand what it takes to build out a game. Wax is full of click and play, 2D art games that can be developed within several weeks, and that's why they come out to market so fast. Obviously, if you get more detailed, it takes longer, but this is not the normal game, and they have no interest in creating the normal Wax game. They are trying to create the first metasphere um, on Wax, and they're trying to do something that's completely different. So it takes time to develop. I add that at the beginning of this because people need to understand that this is not a quick item to build out. All right, this is a long-term game, and it's probably good that we don't just dump everything on the market on day one, because then it gets boring. The continuous change, the continuous updates, the continuous adding of features keeps people interested in games. So their new updated roadmap, as I mentioned before, the wildflowers, they are targeting to have those available in January, so this month. Then in February, they're actually looking to create the seeding system for the gardens. They've already made some adjustments to the gardens where they take less water, which is a great fix. I still haven't put my gardens back in my farm. I'm going to do some blending first, give me a little bit more of a buffer with my CBIT, and then I'm going to go ahead and add my gardens back in. But they're adding in February, they're going to add a seeding system. They're also going to add a new legendary, I believe it's legendary. They haven't quite said it's legendary, but I believe it's going to be a legendary NFT similar to the Lumberjack Pier and Hive, more similar to the Pier and Lumberjack, where this is going to be a greenhouse. This is where you're going to cultivate seeds, and the seeds are going to be created into NFTs, where you can sell them at the Atomic Hub, or you can plant them in your gardens, or you can sell them at I think at New Waxchester. So basically, this is a new form of income and also an added level of the gardens. They mentioned that it's going to be obviously one per farm. It will be limited. It'll probably be a sale similar to Lumberjack and Pier. They haven't provided the cost. They haven't provided the limited number. They also did mention that the seeds that are produced in the greenhouse are random, which means you can't. I want a whole bunch of corn seeds. You can't do that. It'll come out and basically be random. So some will be rarer than others. I'm assuming there'll be some sort of table with the drop rates. So that's a neat feature that they're adding. I'll definitely be grabbing or attempting to grab a greenhouse once it's out there, because I think it's going to be a big part of the future of New Axchester and gardens. I think gardens in general are going to be big in New Axchester because of the products that you can produce with them. That's why I've already bought a few. I've stopped buying the gardens because they were not profitable there for a while, but I do have a handful of them that I'll throw back out there once time is right. And then in March, they're going to add the barn feature or the storage feature. This is the point where they're going to go from your products producing cest, or I should say your animals and your plants producing cest, to them actually producing products. This is when the rare and the epic barns are going to start becoming critical, because obviously the higher rarity you have of the barn, the more you can store, and then it also comes into the weekly tasks that they had been talking about. I don't know if that'll be implemented in March, but the main storage and this is another big aspect to get ready for New Axchester. These are all very good updates. A little slower, I think, than they had initially anticipated, but with a game like this and additions like CBIT and other new features, blending, I believe, was also not initially expected by this time. Things like that have delayed. I don't want to say delayed, but they've distracted from the initial roadmap because these are features that not only were needed, but the community was requesting. So understand that when you complain about roadmaps and timelines, if we keep asking them to do additional items, it's going to take time away from what they're working on. So think in order for them to build something here, they need to stop building something there. So that's why it's not the initial roadmap is what I want to say. I don't want to say it's delayed because they only said January was going to be the first steps for new access. It wasn't going to be complete in January. So those were the key items that came out of the AMA, at least from my personal perspective. There were a few other items that came out. For example, boosts. He was hesitant to say when that was going to come out. I wouldn't expect boost probably for a little while now. There's more critical items. Everybody keeps complaining about new wax chest. Everybody keeps complaining about the CBITs. So obviously, the solutions for those are going to take priority over boosts. The other thing is the 3D animals. Also not a high priority, but I know you've seen from the sneak peek that I created in a previous video. And also they mentioned the AMA. They're working on those. 3D animals don't come that easily, so they got to build them out. So those are some of the other main items that came out. I'm just taking a look at my notes from it, but that I think this video is long enough. I hope this was helpful. I hope I was able to cut down an hour and a half AMA into 18 minutes for you, 17, 18 minutes, with the key features that I think were critical. One admin item, as I mentioned at the beginning of this, there were a lot of people that were asking the same question over and over and over again. Stop asking, please, let me rephrase this, please stop asking for the devs to correct the CBIT or whatever imbalance that you have in your farm. They are doing some changes that will help. I mentioned the wildflower, the blending I think is going to be critical. And then also if you're still having issues, buy a higher rarity silo or water tower will help. There's a lot of solutions out there. Sometimes you need to take part in it yourself. One other item is, like I have, in your garden. I'm sorry, in your farm, your animals in your gardens, take non-profitable ones out of the mix. For example, gardens weren't profitable for me, so I unstaked them, and that dropped me back into my range of the CBITs that I'm getting a day. So I'm self-sustainable, slightly profitable right now. Once blending is implemented, I'm I'm going to double my, well, let me rephrase that. I'm going to way more than double my profit. Once everything's implemented, I'm going to go from a 90 CBIT a day that I'm currently at to roughly about a 40 CBIT a day. At that point, I'll go ahead and put my gardens back in. I'll be able to profit from the CBIT. It's there's a lot of good changes coming. Um, so keep that in mind. All right, I am again rambling. One last item I wanted to throw out there is um, I'm getting closer and closer to 100 subs. Once I get to 100 subs, I will go ahead and do a giveaway. I've decided that the giveaway is going to be the winner's choice. It's going to be a winner's choice between 3 different games. The 3 different games are going to include Farming Tales. I'll go ahead and probably provide a rare. Uh, yeah, a rare. We'll go ahead and do that. Since blending will be in there, it'll be easier for me to give a rare out. It'll be a rare animal of my choice. Uh, it'll be, or it'll be from 2 other games. The other game will be Krypton. We'll go ahead and give probably a minor away, a common minor, or from the new game that just came out, or it will be coming out, that just dropped their packs yesterday, Lost Sailors. I will go ahead and give a Coffer 1, which is a pack from that game. The pack, I believe, has 6 ships in there. So you actually get a good deal there. You get 6 ships. If you decide that solution and want to jump into the Lost Sailors game once it drops in February. So again, winner's choice. Once we get to 100 subs, I'll go ahead and do a post, and we'll do a giveaway. All right. Thank you all for your time, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you, everybody. Bye.